What's going on, everybody? C4 here today, trying to get you pumped, trying to get you ready for the upcoming game where the Eagles travel all the way to the West Coast to take on the LA Chargers. So what we're going to do is go through the top 10 things you need to keep an eye on that include keys to the victory, big-time matchups, and just generally just some Eagles talk sprinkled in. So last week was great. We got to talk just briefly about last week. That field goal. What a game. I was talking to one of my live streams, like, I'll never forget where I was when Deshaun did the miracle at the New Meadowland. I think this kick is going to be one of them, man. This kick is obviously not up there in terms of epicness, really, but it's definitely going to be something every time for at least for the next decade or so when Philly plays the Giants. They're like, hey, remember when we made that 61-yarder, that rookie kicker? So hopefully we can continue, ride that momentum, because we did not play good at all in that fourth quarter. Now we're going, I think Doug said they're leaving on Saturday. So, the time change, you never know how that's going to hit your team. Anytime an East Coast team goes to the West Coast or vice versa. I mean, there's different approaches. People want to be sometimes training out there all like, personally, I think they should have been out there earlier. As someone that has played sports where there is a massive time change, I'd rather get there early, acclimate myself, and then play versus just, doing it all at once. But I digress. Doug says he has the stats. The same stats that probably told him to go for it on 4th and 8 against the Giants. But yeah, jumping into the 10 things. At number 10 is how do we replace Fletcher Cox? It looks like Fletcher Cox is going to be unable to go during this game. It looks, 2-3 weeks is what they said. Hopefully it's closer to 2 and not 3 because he's a beast, man. He's the best player on that defensive line, in my opinion. And yes, that's over Brandon Graham. So I think it's just going to be a rotation of Bo Allen on rundowns, who's very solid against the run, and then they'll put Vinny Curry inside and go with 3 defensive ends. People keep saying on Twitter 4 defensive ends because Timmy Jernigan's a converted defensive end, but Timmy Jernigan, in my opinion, even back at Florida State, was a D tackle, so I still see that as a 3 defensive end front with a rotation of Chris Long and Derek Barnett on one side. You will have Vinny Curry in the middle with Timmy Jernigan. On the other side, you have Mr. Brandon Graham. But, even if you want to go 4 defensive ends, that was something that Jim Johnson used to do. And Jim Johnson, in my opinion, is the greatest defensive coordinator I've ever seen in Philadelphia. So I think it could work. It definitely could work because you need to get pressure on Phillip Rivers. We saw last week against the Kansas City Chiefs that if you get Phillip Rivers under any little bit of pressure, he will throw interceptions like a mother... what? Try not to get demonetized over here, because I had Phillip Rivers as my fantasy QB, and he had like minus 0.7 points in the fourth quarter. He costed me my undefeated fantasy season. So, hopefully I'm going to sit him on the bench. It's going to pay dividends because the Philadelphia Eagles are going to make his life a living hell. Go to number 9 is, can Jake Elliott ride that confidence and be the guy? I mean, he's missed some shaky kicks. He missed a kick before that in the Giants game. It was a 50-some yarder, so, give him a little bit of slouch there. But still, you can, as you look at the 61-yard made, you still can look all the way back to the Chiefs game where he missed a 28-yarder. So, there's inconsistencies to this game, but everyone knows for a kicker, just look at Roberto Aguayo. Mental is massive. I'd say for a kicker, it's probably 60-40 mental to physical. And if you get a kicker with really good confidence, man, you feel confident. Right now with Jake Elliott, given if the wind's not a bad factor, he can probably make something at 55 to 60-some yards. So the confidence that we have with Jake Elliott is great. I haven't felt this good about a rookie kicker since Cody Parkey. And, can he be the guy? Can he be the guy that just says, we're going to release Caleb Sturridge, just move on from him? Free up extra caps. Anytime you get a young rookie kicker, it's good. So, that's just the biggest thing, is that can he be able to ride this confidence, and do we now have a clutch kicker? Can that 161-yarder give him the confidence to be that clutch kicker throughout the entirety of the season? So that, right now, before that 61-yarder, our special teams, as far as kicking is going, was kind of suspect. If we could have a sure, reliable option there at the kicking spot, it's always great. All good teams have good kickers, so that'd be nice to see. Goal number 8 is Steven Wisniewski, graded excellent on Pro Football Focus for however much weight you really want to put in that. But, Doug Pearson still comes out and says, yeah, we're still trying to figure out what's going on there at guard. Wisniewski is better than Warmack and Ciumalo at guard. I think Ciumalo, he's young. Don't give up on him. He's better suited as a center. That being said, Pro Football Focus, I think, gave Player of the Week to Jason Kelce, oddly enough. So, I mean, there's still some uncertainty there. But I definitely think Ciumalo will bounce back. Warmack, on the other hand, I think he's probably just not that great, even though we gave him an extension. But Wisniewski, me personally, I would have had him starting at guard since last season. That's just me. I would have had him over Barbary, to be completely honest with you. But Now, I think it's clear as day. We were able to run the ball as soon as Wisniewski came in. We were able to pass better and keep Carson Wentz upright better when Wisniewski came in the game. I think he's earned the starting guard spot, and him there on that offensive line gives our offensive line that top 5 credibility that we've reportedly had but haven't really executed as. Go to number 7 is Melvin Gordon isn't at 100%, which gives us absolutely no kind of excuse for if we don't shut him down. He's not at 100%. He's the most dynamic playmaker on that offense. He can catch the ball well at the backfield. He can run between the tackles well. He's explosive. If he's not at 100%, we don't have Fletcher Cox, so like you kind of could say that even though he is playing, both of our big studs, that would be a key battle, are out, are not firing on all cylinders. So we need to shut down Melvin Gordon. I think if you stop Melvin Gordon, you win the game. You look at what happened against Kansas City. They had no Melvin Gordon, and the Chargers were horrific. They looked horrific. I was trying to watch that game for fantasy football perspective only, and it was so bad on offense. So, contain him. Worst case scenario. If he was healthy right now, he'd be a problem. Even though we have good linebackers, safety should be back healthy, he'd still be a problem. But if the fact that he's at not 100%, he can't be the guy on that Chargers offense that ends up beating us if we, in fact, lose this game. So it's completely unexcusable if we don't shut him down, and I think we will, because number 6 is it looks like Jordan Hicks and Roddy McLeod should start. I'm recording this on Thursday, but as of right now, things are looking really optimistic that they will start and play, which is obviously huge because Chris Maragos didn't really look that great. Personally, I'm holding Chris Maragos responsible on that Sterling Shepard long touchdown that he took on the slant because Maragos was like the last guy in that looks like A, he missed a tackle, and B, he like took out 2 Eagles teammates on that. Maragos is a tremendous special teamer and a guy that, like, all right, if you guys are getting gassed, you need to come in for a couple snaps. He's not that bad, but to start and play, he definitely should not be there. And in regards to Hicks and McLeod in particular, they have good tight ends there in LA. They have Gates, Antonio Gates, one of the greatest of all time, and Hunter Henry is really, really good. So both those guys are nice, and having Hicks and McLeod should certainly give us an advantage in those matchups and trying to stop those guys and take them away from Phillip Rivers. Go number 5 is Alshon Jeffrey. Tough, really just another tough assignment. He draws another tough assignment versus Casey Hayward, who led the NFL in interceptions last year. But I expect a big game. This is the first assignment that I definitely think Alshon should get the better of his opponent. Week 1, he had Josh Norman. I knew that was probably going to be about 50-50, maybe slight edge to Alshon. Week 2, against the Chiefs, he had Marcus Peters. I honestly thought that was going to be 50-50 either way. Week 3, he had Janoris Jenkins. I thought because of the size matchup, it was probably 50-50 again, but edge goes to Alshon. And obviously, Alshon had a couple not great plays, but ultimately the catch that took us into field goal range, he was able to beat Eli Apple and Janoris Jenkins. Actually, they kind of like collided with each other, but I think they collided into each other. I'll put that on to Alshon, making them do that. Now he has Casey Hayward. Casey Hayward's not the biggest corner, so I definitely expect Alshon to get the better of him. But again, 4 straight tough games for Alshon, so I don't want to see anyone, people out there, just bitching on Alshon. His stat lines don't look anything. He has drawn like murderer's row of corners. Like, I'm surprised we haven't have Xavier. Like, we don't play the Vikings next week or something like that. So yeah, man, he's played great corners, and the fact that he's been productive, maybe not as productive as people thought, maybe he's not elite wide receiver numbers. It's going to come once we start playing guys that don't have elite corners. Casey Hayward, I think, definitely kind of squeaks into that category, so it's definitely going to be a big-time game, but I think Alshon should be able to get, more than his share of touches on the day. Number 4 is Carson Wentz needs to find a way to have big games and rhythm while the offense runs the ball. If I was right now, the first 2 weeks, Carson Wentz had tremendous stat lines. They threw the ball an ungodly amount of times because we failed to establish a run. But you can definitely say, looking at that, even with the sheer amount of throws that Wentz was having, he was balling out, man. He was throwing the ball, he was moving the chains and stuff like that. But then you look against the Giants and the deep ball, couple misses and stuff because we were running the ball more. So I need to see Carson Wentz, while we're able to establish the run, which is exactly the kind of balance this offense needs, I still need him not to make those like, come on, how'd you miss that guy? He was wide open kind of throws. Like, it's still not an epidemic, it's not a problem, but as it says right now, it looks like Carson Wentz, like, I don't want him to be the kind of QB that needs 30 throws a game to have a big game. You know what I'm saying? Like, he needs those 30 throws to get into a rhythm, to start feeling it, to have that big game. I need him to be able to be the quarterback that can make every throw that he makes counts while being able to just say, all right, we got to audible to a run. We got to run this. We have to establish a run. Because right now, you know, that's just the mantra of the season so far. When we've thrown the ball an ungodly amount of times, he's been productive. Whereas, you know, look at other quarterbacks around the league, when they throw a ball a bunch of times, they're heavily turnover prone and stuff like that. That hasn't really been the case with Carson Wentz. But when we establish a more balanced offense, he does seem a little bit rusty and not nearly as in rhythm as those games when we're just straight up air raiding them. So I'd like to see that come together. Number 3 is kind of tying that in, is we need to pound the rock. Chargers are missing their best linebacker versus the run in Denzel Perryman, so the opportunities are going to be there. I mean, we love, you know, just listen to the pop at the link. Every time they gave the ball to Garrett Blount, the crowd went nuts, and he was effective. And now, you know, obviously it sucks with no Darren Sproles. Hopefully he comes back next year. I talked about that in a video not too long ago. But Smallwood, Corey Clement, we brought in Kenyon Barner. We have running backs. We have a stable of running backs. We don't have one running back, obviously. We don't have our Saquon Barkley, if you will. But we can move the ball, and we need to keep that balance to the offense. And like I said, Chargers are a little bit undermanned against the run. I would definitely say, looking at that Chargers team, they're much better against the pass and getting after the quarterback than they are at stopping the run. Look at Kareem Hunt. Look at Kareem Hunt last week. We don't have a Kareem Hunt on the roster, unfortunately, even though we could have drafted him. But, you know, keeping the balance, feeding LeGarrette Blount will only mean good things because there's no Denzel Perryman on the field for the Chargers. Number 2 is, will Jalen Mills shadow Keenan Allen? Looks like we're kind of in the business where we're treating Jalen Mills like a legit corner 1. We had him shadow and follow Odell last week. You figure that'd be the case against Keenan Allen because, you know, I was watching that game. I watched that game, the Chargers versus the Chiefs, because I had a bunch of fantasy implications. I have Tyreek Hill, Kareem Hunt, I had Phillip Rivers on my fantasy teams. Literally, when Melvin Gordon was not at 100% and not in that game, Keenan Allen is literally the only guy that Phillip Rivers is throwing the ball to. So I think that that's going to be an absolute big-time matchup for Jalen Mills, who's looking like, dare I say, fringe corner 1. Like, definitely not league-wide, I would say. He's definitely not in the corner 1 category. Personally, this is me. I'm asking a question on the other side. Personally, he's a corner 2 in my books. But the way that we're playing him, and with the sheer amount of targets he's getting in relation to the production he's giving up, he's getting corner 1. He's looking like a corner 1. People are attacking him like he's a weak link, but he's performing like not a weak link. So does that, like, by that standard, does that make him a corner 1? Like, anytime we had a Bradley Fletcher, Kerry Williams, guys that were getting attacked and getting exposed, you know, they were playing as our corner 1, but they weren't producing like a corner 1. With Jalen Mills, he's getting attacked like said weak link, but he's shutting these guys down. He's stopping them. There's really nothing he could have done against those 2 Odell Beckham touchdowns. Maybe the first one, he could have had better coverage and, you know, kind of pushed him up with the one-handed one, stuff like that. But he limited the big plays. So, that being said, that kind of translates into, will the Chargers take the game plan from the Giants and just try to short ball us to death? Just try to, maybe without Fletcher Cox in the lineup, they won't. But they're a team that, like, obviously with Melvin Gordon, they want to try to get him involved in the game. They're not going to be able to do exactly what the Giants did by completely abandoning the run and trying to throw the ball with like 1-2 seconds of throwing time. But, I mean, did the Giants kind of expose a way to attack this Eagles front 7? Just constantly throw the ball. Make it so there's no way in hell that our pass rush can get involved in the game. I don't know, but the bigger thing is, yeah, man, you got to take away Keenan Allen in this game, and I assume they'll have Jalen Mills follow him. And the number 1 thing for this game against the Chargers is the offensive tackles versus Melvin Ingram, and Joey Bosa. We'll define this game, and I'm confident in Jason Peters and Lane Johnson that they can do an admirable job. It's going to be kind of like the Alshon Jeffrey, Casey Hayward battle where it's, you know, they're both going to get theirs. I think that you're going to see probably Bosa and or Ingram get a sack on Carson Wentz, but then you're also going to see Jason Peters and Lane Johnson pancake block Ingram and Bosa. But Ingram and Bosa have been absolute just wreakers of havoc, and they can take over games. Luckily enough, they haven't gone up against nearly as good tackles as what we have in Philly. But now it's time to show it. Put up or shut up. I want to see these offensive tackles play like elite tackles when the best is required of them, and that is going to be this week. And for us on offense to have a chance, we're going to have to give Carson Wentz time to throw the ball downfield, and you're going to only be able to do that if you shut down Ingram and Bosa. For the MVP, my MVP prediction of this game, I'm going to say Carson Wentz. I think if we're going to win this game, it's going to be because Carson Wentz is going to be throwing the ball. I kind of have a feeling this might be a shootout. I don't know why. I feel like Philadelphia is not the kind of team that wants to get in shootouts more often than not because our defense is, you know, more often than not what's saving us right now so far this season. But I have a feeling it will be a shootout. If that's the case, Carson Wentz will be our MVP on the road to victory. That is it for me today, guys. Thank you for watching. If you're first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. Until next time, it's C4 saying peace out.